Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. I am very, very stressed out at the moment. It's been a really stressful few weeks, but the things that have been stressing me are not things that I can control. They're not things that I can make better, and they're not things that I can change. So what do we do when we're stressed about something that we can't change? That's correct, we make shit up. Now the other day, well, a couple of weeks ago really, one of my friends was on holiday and sent me a photo of where they were. It was absolutely beautiful. I said, right then and there, I'm going to paint this. Having forgotten that I haven't painted in several years and I've lost a lot of the skill to do it. But here's how it went. So first I printed off my reference picture so that I'd have something better to copy, and then sketched it lightly out onto my canvas. And then I didn't show this part, but I went over that with coloured pencils just so that it wouldn't bleed so much. When I did this stage, which is the priming stage, I just did a really, really light yellow over the whole canvas to prime it for the paint, but also to give it a sort of back glow to make that light come in there. I have darkened the yellow area slightly in the more yellow areas of the sky, but apart from that I was really just blocking it out. Then I blocked out some of the other colours once that had 100% dried. I waited 24 hours for that to finish drying before I started adding blue in so that it wouldn't turn sort of green. Here you can see my very expensive paint palette, which is the lid from a box of Cadbury Heroes that we had at Christmas time. And at this point, it was just starting to look kind of pastel-y, and I thought I can't really see the sketch through it very well, and I'm hoping that I will be able to as I keep layering up. Next, I tried to block in some of the darker areas and then do an almost sort of sketch of the main parts of the painting with some paint so that I could see those guidelines under there. And I went in and started adding some detail-y bits to the background. It was really hard to film this bit. I was literally just filming it so that you could see that it really was me painting it. But honestly, it was very, very difficult to film and paint at the same time. And I felt far too much pressure to paint in front of the camera. So this is pretty much the only scene in the video where you are going to see me actually painting. But each time I would leave it for about 24 hours and then add a little bit more detail on, add a little bit more colour on, and I could see it starting to form. But as I did this, I started to realise that I had proportioned it all wrong and I had to adapt some things. But the first red flag went in and I was quite pleased with how that was looking. And once I'd added the other flags in, it started to really look a lot more like it was going to when it was finished. I could see it all starting to come together, and I was starting at this point to realise just how detailed the foreground was. When I first saw the picture, I thought it was basically a silhouette. It was not. It took me a really long time to work out where all the little different bits and bobs were going to go, and it took me a lot longer than I wanted it to. As you can see there, that's, yeah. It had a long way to go at this point, but I started adding some details in and it started to come together, and I started to think that maybe I hadn't completely ruined it. I had a lot of moments during this painting where I was like, oh, I've spoiled it, I'm going to have to scrub the canvas off and start again, but then I thought, no, just keep going, see how it goes, and eventually it did kind of all come together a bit. And I started to think maybe we have got something here. Maybe it won't be a completely photorealistic version of this painting, but I was happy with how the water and the city lights were coming together. It's these umbrellas at the front I wasn't over the moon with, but I thought, you know what, they're not terrible. They're not the worst. It can be an artistic interpretation of that. The different layers of colour in the flags, though, came together really, really well. I like how it looks like some of them are transparent, folded back on themselves, things like that. I was really, really happy with the colour mixing for that part of the painting. And the next day when it had dried, it still looked pretty good. Sometimes when you have just let it dry, it doesn't look as vibrant, it doesn't look like it pops as much. But with this particular painting, I thought once it had dried, it actually did look sort of more realistic, and I was really happy with the movement that I managed to get in the flags. Especially considering I haven't painted for a few years, I was pleased with how it turned out. I have now reached the stage of this where I don't know if it needs a little more, but I'm scared that I'm going to ruin it if I add any more to it. So maybe it's finished. I might leave it here for a day and see if I can decide. So as I think I said earlier, this painting was based on a photo that my friend sent me. He went to St Kilda in Australia and sent me this picture when I asked, are you anywhere near the sea? And I said immediately, I want to paint that. While I've been painting it, I have been giggling to myself about this because I'd planned to do this all along. Once I'd finished my painting, I said to him, I'd really like to do a video about this, but I feel like I should show you the painting first. Would you like to see? He said, yeah, and I said, it came out a little bit more abstract than I intended it to, but I'm quite pleased with the colour gradient in the sky. And then I showed him this. I do amuse myself sometimes. And I said to him, what do you think? Bless him, he was so nice about it. He was just like, oh, I love it. It's like I'm back there. I did eventually say to him, no, I am fucking with you. Here was the real picture. But he was so nice about it. It was so sweet. He said to me, you're so cruel after that. And I said, that's a funny way to spell fucking hilarious. But when my husband then got home, I told him what I had done because I was very amused with myself. And he did find it funny. But he also said, you know what, with this picture, if a famous artist put that out and put it in a gallery and said, this is my latest work, everyone would be falling over themselves to say what a fantastic piece it is and be drawing all sorts of meaning into it and all that sort of stuff. And they would never guess that I did it with my left hand in 10 minutes before the school run. If any of you want to pay millions for my lovely red flag picture, then yeah, contact me. I'll sell it to you. That is not a problem. But yeah, eventually I did show my friend the real version. I have no idea if they thought it was nice or not, or if they were just relieved that it wasn't this one, but they were very complimentary about it, so thank you for that. But yeah, like I said, the whole point of the painting isn't that I've got an amazing finished product. It is the enjoyment of doing the painting and find it very relaxing, but it also was partly because I wanted to do that joke. 3 weeks of painting just to do that joke, and I got paint on my good leggings too. This is my finished piece. I'm not over the moon about the colour here, but I think that is the closest that I can get to it. I quite like the detail in this little section here, although it doesn't quite match the reference, but who's going to know that apart from the person that took the reference picture? No one. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how it came out. So I hope that you enjoyed watching me paint that. The finished product isn't the best. I'm not overly pleased with it, although I don't think it looks like a toddler painted it. That being said, I'm not going to be hanging it on my wall anytime soon, but that's okay because that wasn't the point of doing it. The point of doing it was to enjoy the process, to let myself be bad at something and just enjoy the process of doing it instead of the finished product of it. So often when we try and do a new skill, a new hobby, or give something new a go, we get really hung up in how we're doing it isn't as good as the people that have been doing it for years and years and years. Of course it's not going to be. You have to give yourself permission to be a beginner at these things. You have to give yourself permission to be rubbish at these things at first and just enjoy the process of doing it. Because if you get too hung up on that final product, you're never going to get started on anything and you're never going to have a chance to just relax and have fun with it. Join me next week for my next vlog. Not sure what I'm vlogging about yet. As usual, might do you a witchy one. But if you can't wait until then to see me again, I do understand. I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for that day. Sometimes I'll let you know what's challenging me that day as well, because we're real on this channel. And I'm also here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive card read for you. If you want a little taster read to see what my style is like, and if you really, really like it, you can book me through my Ko-fi to do a long form read for you personally. I will never DM you offering you a reading, and I will never comment on your comments offering you a reading. So if somebody is offering you a reading that seems like me, they are not me. You can only go through my Ko-fi, which I will put down here. Until next week though, you have yourself a wonderful week.